Okay, we've got our news conference and update getting underway right now, happening at City Hall, where officials are speaking about the situation at the Thorncliffe Park condo, where there was a fire between the walls that was burning for more than 2 weeks. Fire Chief Jim Jessop speaking now. Let's listen live.
Throughout the response, our multidisciplinary team of suppression firefighters and engineers employed several suppression methods, each contributing to the reduction of heat, smoke, and carbon monoxide levels while limiting further risk. Following the fire suppression efforts, continuous monitoring of carbon monoxide, visible smoke conditions, thermal readings, and indoor air quality monitoring in surrounding residential units and the immediate neighborhood was systematically carried out. As a next step, Toronto Fire Services will hand the properties back to the property management companies. They will be informed of their required next steps regarding structural integrity of the buildings, the necessary remediation, and verification that all fire and life safety systems are functional. Our colleagues at Toronto Building will provide oversight for this process and building reoccupancy. The investigation into the origin, cause, and circumstances of the fire continues with the Toronto Fire Service Investigations Division and the Toronto Police Service. As that process moves forward, we're not able to provide details, and we appreciate everyone's understanding of the importance of protecting the integrity of the investigation. While firefighting suppression operations are complete, Toronto Fire Services will maintain a presence at the property as we continue to support the ongoing efforts to prepare the site for reoccupancy, including the restoration of fire and life safety systems. Throughout this response, our top priority has been the safety of residents. Again, we recognize how difficult this situation has been, especially the time away from their homes. We sincerely appreciate their patience, resilience, and cooperation shown by the residents and the community, and we thank them for their continued trust as the work towards the shared goal of safely returning them safely to their homes continues. I will now invite Interim Chief Building Official Kamal Gogna to the podium to provide an update on the next stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Jessop. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kamal Gogna. I'm the Interim Chief Building Official and Executive Director for Toronto Building. Over the past 17 days, our staff have been working closely with Toronto Fire Services, along with a third-party engineer retained by Thorncliffe Park condos property management companies to conduct preliminary assessments. Now that the firefighting operations have been concluded, you'll have to excuse me. I'll restart my remarks. Thank you, Chief Jessop. My name is Kamal Gogna. I'm the Interim Chief Building Official and Executive Director for Toronto Building. Over the past 17 years, my staff have been working closely with Toronto Fire Services, along with third-party engineers hired by Thorncliffe Park condos, property management companies, to conduct preliminary assessments. Now that fire operations have concluded, the buildings are being turned over back to the property management companies who are responsible for hiring third-party engineers to conduct a full assessment of the building to determine when and how individual units can safely be occupied. However, I must state that there still is a great deal of work required to make the buildings safe for reoccupancy. Any materials compromised by fire and prolonged water exposure, including the fiberboard between the two buildings, will need to be assessed by the professional engineers. Environmental remediation, including but not limited to smoke odor removal, moisture mitigation, and confirmation of acceptable indoor air quality must be completed prior to reoccupancy. The engineers will also check the fire alarm systems, electrical systems, air quality, as well as plumbing and electrical systems. We expect damage in the units to vary substantially. And that is why not all units will be ready for occupancy at the same time. Once the engineers complete their full assessment of the building, they will prepare a report outlining what is safe, what requires repairs, and where more work is necessary. The city will then review those reports to confirm that all safety checks have been conducted, and once found acceptable, will provide clearance to the property management companies. Residents will then receive updates directly from their property management companies on when they can expect to return to their units following that report. Our focus is to make sure that when residents return, they return to their homes that are safe to live in. Thank you. Over to Judy.
Thank you so much, Chief Jessop and Kamal. We're now open for questions. If we could, as I said, if we could please start with one question each and just ensure that everybody has a chance to ask the question. Thank you so much.
Dilshad Burman, City News. Chief Jessop, you mentioned that a number of different kinds of firefighting methods were used to put out the fire. Could you elaborate what exactly was done to finally get this fire out?
Oh, happy to. As I said, this city has never had a fire this complex. We have never deployed a team of multidisciplinary engineers in a separate command post to come up with new ideas to extinguish a fire that we could not see. And so we used a combination originally of traditional firefighting methods of just plain water. That led to using inert gases such as carbon dioxide to displace the oxygen. Then we used helium to displace the oxygen. And then we finally used water-based foam at a very, very high volume over several hours, over several applications, which finally allowed us to reach the conclusion that the smoldering has finally extinguished. So it really was a combination of all activities that led to the final successful resolution of this incident.
Morning, Courtney Hills with CP24. My question's also for you, Chief. Can you give us a sense of the damage to some of the units? You spoke to how challenging this fire was. I think at one point your crews were cutting into the walls to access the flames. Will there be units people cannot return to because of the damage?
Yeah, so we're going to be completely honest. Part of the reason we've been able to declare this fire extinguished and start the next phase of getting people back into their homes is we needed certainty to know that the fire had stopped and not spread. And following the work of the removal of the exterior brick veneer yesterday, as well as destructive and intrusive testing inside units adjoining the wall where the combustible material is, was required for us to have certainty to declare this fire out. So there are absolutely units that adjoin this wall where we have cut into the walls, where we have drilled holes into the walls so we could deploy our Hussar cameras and search out the edges of the fire and the fiberboard to know exactly the path of travel and where the fire stopped. So there are certainly going to be units with substantial damage that was required to make sure that we could now safely move forward to the next phase to get people back in when it is safe to do so.
All right, that is Chief Jim Jessop providing a part of an update here from city officials about the situation at the Thorncliffe Park condo buildings where that fire burned for almost 3 weeks now. The fire's out, but you just heard the chief there talking about the damage to certain units, which lines up with his answer earlier or his comment earlier about the sort of, return to the units of some people. It doesn't look like everybody will be getting back to their units at the same time.